Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is going to be the first video in a series called Road to OSCP. In this series I'm just going to be going through the Proving Grounds practice machines in preparation for my OSCP exam, and I'm going to be bringing you guys along with me. In this video we're going to be doing the machine Wombo.
Come on, you know, I Wombo, you Wombo, he, she, me, Wombo. Wombology? The study of Wombo? It's first grade, SpongeBob.
And first grade as it may seem, if you're not careful you could definitely waste a lot of time on this machine, which is pretty counterintuitive to the 24 hours time slot allotted for the OSCP. So some enumeration of the machine reveals that there are several services running, 2 web services running on port 80 and port 8080 with an exposed API that doesn't actually go anywhere. So after spending some time enumerating the web services, we turn our focus towards Redis and do a search exploit on Redis to find that there is indeed a remote code execution possible because of the Redis's replication extension running. And with that we're able to use Metasploit, a Metasploit module, to get remote code execution on the machine. So stay tuned and thanks for watching. Alright, so let's get started. I went ahead and already ran an nmap scan just because how long this could take to run. So here's the syntax I used: nmap, tac sv for checking for versions, tac se for scripts, tac p tac for check all ports, and then the IP address, and then tac o for output to our file wombo .scan. So we're going to cat that out. We can see we get a lot of information. The map throws a lot of information on us, mostly from our Mongo, the Mongo database running on port 27017. We have an web service running on port 8080, a Redis service running on port 6379, another web application service running on port 80, and then SSH running on port 222. So generally when I have some web services run a Nicto scan, which I've already also done just because of how much time it can take to run those scans. So let's go ahead and cat those out as well. Cat out our Nicto scan, port 80. Nicto didn't find anything useful on this particular web service. We can also go ahead and enumerate it manually. Let me grab that IP address real quick. Navigating to the website, we get a default Nginx install, it looks like. We can go ahead and check the source page. We don't see anything useful in here. Next to that, we could also run a derb scan on this web service too while we enumerate the one on port 8080. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. derb-h http invalid host. Maybe you don't need the tag h. Okay. So while this runs, we're going to go ahead and enumerate the web service on port 8080. And also check out that Nicto scan we ran for it. So we get something different on port 8080. We have what looks like node bb. I'm not all that familiar with node bb. So what we can do real quick is go over to our trusty browser and search up node bb. Node bb is a forum software powered by node.js and supports either Redis, which we saw, MongoDB we also saw, or a PostgreSQL or SQL database. It utilizes WebSockets for instance interactions and real-time notifications. So now we have a brief overview of what Node BB is. We can go back here. Let's go ahead and look at that Nicto scan actually for this one. Make that a bit larger so you guys can see. Change directories into my Wombo directory. And let's go ahead and cat that out. Nicto 8080.txt. So Nicto got a bit more information on the web service running on port 8080. We can see we have a login directory and a register directory. We also have a wp-app.log WordPress, a package.json file, Oh, I also have an admin is in the robots.txt returned for non-forbidden. So we can navigate to a couple of these and also run a derb scan just to go ahead and fuzz for directories on this website as well. Let's go ahead and check the admin page. So we have a login here. We could try a couple different default credentials just to see if we can get in that way. Admin, administrator. Let's see. Admin, password. Admin, QWERTY, 123. Oh, and we can see here we have a message actually that says login for local login system has been disabled for non-privileged accounts. We could try registering, maybe see if we can get in as a new account. Do test, password, test. Password is too short. Fine then. Good on them, we'll do test 1, 2, 3. Don't save. Password must be 6 characters. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Consent. While we're going ahead and enumerating the web service, we can also run that derb scan. And it was port 8080. So that's going to go ahead and run along with the derb scan running for our port 80. I'm going to go ahead and stop this one just because Nikto didn't show us anything useful for that service on port 80. So I think it's best we focused on the web service on port 8080 for now. As you can see, we were able to get into our test account that we made. We were able to advance just a little bit further. We have user, test, directory. I don't see anything else too useful here. We have a chats box up here. We have no active chats. Test, home. There doesn't seem to be anything posted. No blogs, comments, general discussion. Once again, we can refer to our source page here and see if we find anything useful. Going back to our derb scan, it seems we have a directory called API, which is pretty interesting for us. So let's go ahead and go over here to this API directory. And so we can see we have an exposed API here, which may be useful. Image. Not seeing any information that's super useful for us in particular. We could fuzz further into this API directory here and maybe get something of use. So let's run another derb scan. This time I'm going to start on the API directory and see if we get anything useful for that. That'd be my next step here. So we'll go ahead and mark off port 80. We need to find anything super useful. If we need to, we can come back to port 80 and enumerate further. But like I said, it wasn't showing us anything useful off the jump. Let's see. Make that a bit bigger for you guys. So next, while that's running, while we're waiting for that derb scan to finish, we can go ahead and enumerate the Redis service that we saw available to us through our nmap scan. So let me just change directories into roto.scp, Wombo, And then we can go ahead and check out that Redis service again. So go ahead and grep out TCP and then our Wombo scan. And so for the version, we see that we have Redis key value store 5.0.9. And we can go ahead and search and see if there's any public exploits for that with the search exploit. So we're going to use search exploit, Redis, and then tag W for www, or it's going to give us the website instead of the local directory to find the exploit. Okay, so we have a couple useful things that popped up here. We have Redis replication code execution, 2 Metasploit modules that we could possibly use. So let's see. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. Redis 4. to 5. Unauthenticated code execution Metasploit. Module requires Metasploit. Description: this module can be used to leverage the extension functionality added by Redis 4 and 5 to execute arbitrary code. To transmit the given extension, it makes use of the feature of Redis which is called replication between master and slave. So this might be worth checking out. Return back to our derb scan. We did get a couple of code 200s on our fuzzing. So we can go ahead and check these out real quick, see if we find anything of use to us. Yeah, so like I said, I'm not seeing anything super useful here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and cut this derb scan short and focus on the Redis service that we saw. Possible unauthenticated code execution. So we're going to move forward with that. Let's go ahead and open up Metasploit, MSF console, tac Q for be quiet, don't open up the banner. Alright, let's go ahead and search up Redis. We get a couple different exploits here. The one we're looking for was replication command execution. Ah, here it is, 7. So that's the one we want, and we can see it come out in 2018. It's ranked good. Redis application code execution. So we can try this. Use 7 and options to see what our available options are to us. Custom whether compile payload exporting password, Redis password verification, our host. Let's go ahead and set our host here. Set our host. It's going to be the target IP address, our remote port that we're connected to. I'm assuming that's going to stay as 6379 for the Redis service that's running on port 6379. Server host 0.0.0. The local host or network interface to listen on. This must be an address on the local machine. I think we should be able just to keep that as 0.0.0. Actually, let's go ahead and set it as our IP address just in case. Config to get our IP address we're using for the VPN. Copy that. And now let's go ahead and set the server host. Set server host. And we're going to put our IP address there. Server port, I believe that'll stay the same. And now payload. Let's go ahead and set the listener host and port for the payload. So set localhost to our IP address once again. And then I'm going to set the local port to 1234. We hit options again. Everything was set. IP address, port. And everything looks good, so we can go ahead and run the exploit. Exploit failed, access permission denied. And we got a permission denied here. I believe that's because I wasn't I wasn't root when I ran. The module requires root access, so I'm gonna have to switch over to root. And then we're gonna run it again. MFS console, tac q. I'm just gonna run through and set all the options again. And then we'll try to run the exploit again. Alright, let's see, we're gonna use exploit. I believe it was Redis. It's not wanting to finish for me. Oh, that's probably why it's a lot of options here. Redis. And let's go ahead and run that. Compile the Redis module extension file. Payload generated successfully, listening on port 6379. Rogue server close. Sending command to trigger payload. Everything looks like it's running smoothly. Exploit may require manual cleanup. Exploit completed but no session was created. Let's try running it again. Listening on port 6379. Can't tell if it executed. Let's see. It doesn't seem to be. Let's try running it once again. Because now it's just stuck on listening for the connection. I'm not sure if I need to wait a bit or if it's just going to connect. Let's read up more on this. Maybe we need to use a different payload. That's an issue. It's possible to run into. Sometimes you might have to mess around with the payloads to get one that works. So let's go show payloads. And instead of using an interpreter payload, let's just go ahead and stick with a normal Linux reverse shell payload. So payload Linux architecture times 64 shell reverse TCP. So we're going to use set payload to Linux 64 reverse or shell reverse TCP, and all our options should stay the same. Let's go ahead and try to run that again. We got a listener once again. But no connection. I'm not sure why it's not working. Let's see. Jobs, nothing's running there. Let's try running it again. Payload generated successfully, so let's generate the payload. Compiling the Redis module extension. Addresses are in use. Let's go ahead and go to netstat and see if we have a connection there. Let's tac AN. Right, and let's go ahead and grep for 6379. TCP. It's listening. So why is it not? It's not running. And I kept trying to figure out why it wasn't working. I pretty much didn't change anything really. I mean, I kept setting the options again. So I'm not sure why it wasn't working at first, but after running it multiple times, just kept running exploit, it seems that we finally got the show. So a bit weird there. Just one of those things where you gotta play around with it for a little while. Boom. Thanks for watching, everyone.